Have you ever noticed something strange about personal growth? The moment you start becoming more aware of yourself, life suddenly feels heavier. The things that once seemed normal begin to bother you. The distractions that once entertained you no longer feel satisfying. And the person you thought you were begins to crack open in uncomfortable ways. Many people think self-awareness will instantly bring peace, but according to the deep psychological insights of Carl Jung, the opposite often happens first. Awareness can hurt. In fact, Jung believed that the path toward true consciousness almost always begins with discomfort. Think about it. When you live unconsciously, life feels simple. You follow habits, chase approval, repeat patterns, and rarely question your behavior. You blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck for your problems. It's easy. But the moment you begin observing your own mind honestly, a new reality appears. You start noticing your fears, your jealousy, your hidden motives, and the contradictions inside your personality. Suddenly you realize that some of the struggles in your life didn't come from the outside world at all. They came from within you. And that realization can feel deeply unsettling. Jung called this confrontation with our hidden self the encounter with the shadow. The shadow is the part of our personality we try to hide from the world and even from ourselves. It contains the emotions we were taught were unacceptable, the impulses we suppressed, the anger we buried, and the weaknesses we refused to acknowledge. For most of our lives we try to avoid looking at this part of ourselves. But the moment self-awareness begins, the shadow slowly steps into the light. This is why growth often feels painful. It forces you to face parts of yourself that your ego has spent years protecting. Imagine realizing that some of the people you judged were actually reflecting qualities you carry inside. Imagine noticing that your need for validation has quietly shaped many of your decisions. Imagine recognizing that certain patterns in your relationships repeat not because others are toxic, but because you unconsciously choose familiar emotional dynamics. These realizations can shake your identity. Jung once wrote that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. That sentence reveals a powerful truth. Most of us prefer comfortable illusions over uncomfortable truth. We distract ourselves with entertainment, constant busyness, or endless scrolling, not because we are lazy, but because silence forces us to confront ourselves. And self-confrontation is rarely pleasant in the beginning. But the pain of self-awareness has a purpose. It is the beginning of psychological freedom. When you start seeing your patterns clearly, you also gain the ability to change them. When you become aware of your triggers, you no longer react automatically. When you understand your wounds, you stop projecting them onto others. Something powerful begins to happen once you stop running from that discomfort. The same awareness that once felt painful slowly becomes a source of strength. When you begin observing your thoughts, your reactions, and your emotional patterns without judgment, you start separating yourself from them. You realize that you are not your anger, not your fears, not even your past. You are the one who can see them. And that simple shift changes everything. This is one of the central ideas in the work of Carl Jung. He believed that true psychological growth begins when a person becomes conscious of what was previously unconscious. But this process is rarely comfortable. Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." What he meant was that awareness breaks illusions, and whenever illusions break, the ego feels threatened. Think about the moment when you realize that a relationship in your life is unhealthy. Before awareness, you might have blamed circumstances or convinced yourself everything was fine. But once you truly see the dynamic for what it is, you cannot unsee it. The same thing happens with personal habits, emotional reactions, and belief systems. Awareness removes the comfortable story we once told ourselves. That's why many people stop the journey of self-awareness halfway. They start noticing their patterns, but when the discomfort grows, they retreat back into distraction. They go back to blaming others, numbing themselves with constant stimulation, or avoiding silence altogether. But those who continue the journey discover something remarkable. The pain slowly transforms into clarity. Clarity is the reward of self-awareness. When you understand your own mind, you stop being controlled by unconscious forces. You begin recognizing why certain situations trigger you. You understand why you seek approval from certain people. You see how old wounds influence present decisions. And once those patterns become visible, they lose much of their power over you. Jung called this process individuation. Individuation is the lifelong journey of becoming your authentic self. It means integrating all parts of your personality instead of denying them. The goal is not to eliminate your shadow, but to understand it. When you accept the hidden parts of yourself, they stop controlling you from the background. For example, when someone refuses to acknowledge their anger, That anger often appears in passive-aggressive behavior or sudden emotional outbursts. But when a person becomes aware of their anger and accepts it as part of their human experience, they can channel it constructively. The same applies to fear, insecurity, and even ambition. Awareness turns unconscious reactions into conscious choices. Another reason self-awareness feels painful is because it breaks our old identity. Many people build their identity around how others see them. They want to be known as the kind one, the successful one, the strong one, or the intelligent one. But real self-exploration reveals that human beings are far more complex than these labels. You might discover that beneath your kindness there is hidden resentment, or beneath your confidence there is fear of rejection. These discoveries can feel like losing the person you thought you were. But in reality, you are not losing yourself. You are finally meeting yourself. And that meeting is the beginning of real freedom. When you no longer need to pretend, you stop living under the pressure of maintaining an image. You stop exhausting yourself trying to control how others perceive you. Instead, you begin focusing on inner honesty. That honesty brings a quiet kind of peace. Self-awareness also changes the way you see other people. Once you recognize the complexity inside your own mind, you become more compassionate toward the struggles of others. You realize that everyone carries hidden fears, unresolved wounds, and unconscious patterns. The person who lashes out in anger may be protecting deep insecurity. The person who constantly seeks attention may be starving for validation they never received earlier in life. Understanding this does not mean tolerating harmful behavior. It simply means seeing human beings with greater depth. And that depth allows you to respond to life more wisely. However, the journey of awareness never truly ends. Each layer of understanding reveals another layer beneath it. Just when you think you fully understand yourself, new insights appear. Jung believed that the human psyche is vast and mysterious, and discovering it is a lifelong process. This can sound overwhelming, but it is actually beautiful. It means growth never stops. Each moment of awareness becomes an opportunity to evolve into a more conscious version of yourself. And perhaps the most comforting realization is this: the pain of awareness is temporary, but the wisdom it creates lasts a lifetime. Once you see your patterns clearly, you cannot return to unconscious living. But that is not a loss, it is an awakening. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to pause and reflect on one question: what part of yourself have you been avoiding seeing? The answer to that question may be the doorway to your deepest growth. If you found value in this exploration of the ideas of Carl Jung, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more insights into psychology, spirituality, and personal transformation. Share this video with someone who is on the journey of self-discovery, and let me know in the comments what self-awareness has taught you about your own life.